Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi-janma-vādaḥ giri-varadhari. Gopi-janma-vādaḥ giri-varadhari. Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Parajaka-acharya Ashtottara Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajaka-acharya Ashtottara Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Alanta Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 6th day of September, 2023 in San Diego, the glorious Janmashtami day, appearance day of Lord Kṛṣṇa, we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 90, Text 48. This is almost the last text in the 10th canto. And I think we'll have to wait for the verse. You can do Yeah, I'll do the word for words. Well, the word for word is kind of okay. Jayati Jananivasaha devakī-janma-vādaḥ. Yeah, it probably has a whole little purport on that word. Yadavada parishat svair dorbhi asyan adharmam sthirachara vijina gnaha susmita shrimukena rajapura vanitanam vardhayan kamadevam. So before the verse comes out, just a little background on this verse. I remember when I joined the temple in Brooklyn in 1973, I was sleeping in the ashram. This verse was written on a plaque up near the door. And we were meant to try to memorize that verse. I think the translation was there also. At least read the translation. As soon as you wake up. Because this verse gives a nice summary of Krishna's pastimes, of who Krishna is from his childhood and onward like that. It's a very nice way of starting the day. And so now we will try to chant this verse. It's a little difficult, but I think we can do it. I'll do it slow. Jayati janani vaso devakī-janma-vādaḥ Yadavada parishat svair dorbhir asyan adharmam Stidachada vijanagnak susmita shri mukhena Rajapura vanitanam vardhayan kamadevam. Jayati janani vaso devakī-janma-vādaḥ Yadavada parishat svair dorbhir asyan adharmam Stidachara vijanagna susmita shri mukhena Radapura vanitanam vardhayan kamadevam. Go ahead, you want to try it, Prabhamana? I can't see it, okay, then Vijay, go for it. Jayati janani vaso devakī-janma-vādaḥ Yadavada parishat svair dorbhir asyan adharmam Stidachala vijanagnak susmita shri mukhena Vadapuda vadithanam vardhayan kamadevam. Jayati janani vaso devakī-janma-vādaḥ Yadavada parishat svair dorbhir asyan adharmam Stidachada vijanagnak susmita shri mukhena Vadapuda vadithanam vardhayan kamadevam. Anybody else? Jayati janani vaso devakī-janma-vādaḥ Yadavada parishat svair dorbhir asyan adharmam Stidachada vijanagnak susmita shri mukhena Vadapuda vadithanam vardhayan kamadevam. Any lady who want to try? It's a tough one. Jayati janani vaso devakī-janma-vādaḥ Yadavada Padishat Svayadorbit Asyan Adharmam. Stirichada Vijanagnak Susmita Shri Mukhena. Vadapuda Varitanam Vardayan Kamadevam. It's okay. Anyone online? Zooming? Okay. All right, just before I read the meanings of the synonyms, these are all from Srila Prabhupada. This verse is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The synonyms and the translation is all Srila Prabhupada's. And most of the purport is, because it's quoted from the Krishna book. So now let's read. Jayati. Eternally lives gloriously. Jananivasaha. He who lives among human beings, like the members of the Yadu dynasty, and is the ultimate resort of all living entities. Now here's a little mini purport in the synonym, so get ready. Devakī-janma-vādaḥ, known as the son of Devaki. No one can actually become the father or mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, devakī-janma-vādaḥ means that he is known as the son of Devaki. Similarly, he is also known as the son of Mother Yashoda, Vasudeva, and Nanda Maharaj. Yadavada Parishat, served by the members of the Yadu dynasty, or the cowherd men of Vrindavan, all of whom are constant associates of the Supreme Lord, and are the Lord's eternal servants. Svai Dorbhi, by his own arms, or by his devotees like Arjuna, who are just like his own arms. Asyan, killing. Adharmam, demons or the impious. Stirichara, Vijanagna, the destroyer of all the ill fortune of all living entities. Moving and not moving. Susmita, always smiling. Shri Mukhena, by his beautiful face. Vrajapura Vanitanam, of the damsels of Vrindavan. Vardhayan, increasing. Kama Devam, the lusty desires. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna is he who is known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nandana or Yashoda Nandana, the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. Purport. Now, the first part of this purport, first paragraph, is written by His Grace Gopi Puranadhana Prabhu. Some of you may not know that the last 10 chapters of the 10th canto were wholly and solely produced by Gopi Puranadhana Prabhu, with a little help by me. So just to let you know that. The translation and word meanings for this verse are taken from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 1379. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srila Śukadeva Gosvāmī has composed this beautiful verse to console those who lament the fact that Lord Kṛṣṇa did not continue to manifest his intimate pastimes down to the present time. Here, Sri Śukadeva reminds his listeners that the Lord is eternally present in this world, in his holy abode, his name, and the recitation of his glories. This idea is expressed by the word Jayati, he is victorious, which is in the present tense, rather than the past. Srila Prabhupada explains this verse as follows in Krishna book. Quote, Srila Śukadeva Gosvāmī thus concludes his description of the super-exalted position of Lord Krishna by glorifying him in the following way. So this is right near the end of the 10th canto. He's gone through all the pastimes of Vrindavan Lila, Mathura Lila, and Dwarka Lila. O Lord Krishna, all glories unto you. You are present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Therefore you are known as Jananivas, one who lives in everyone's heart. Close quote. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvarak Sarvabhutanam Hridesher Janatishtati. The Supreme Lord in his Paramatma feature lives within everyone's heart. This does not mean, however, that Krishna has no separate existence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Māyāvādī philosophers accept the all-pervading feature of Parabrahman, but when Parabrahman, or the Supreme Lord, appears, they think that he appears under the control of material nature. Because Lord Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki, the Māyāvādī philosophers accept Krishna to be an ordinary living entity who takes birth within this material world. Therefore, Śukadeva Gosvāmī warns them, devakī-janma-vādaḥ, which means that although Krishna is famous as the son of Devaki, actually he is the super-soul or the all-pervading personality of Godhead. The devotees, however, take this word devakī-janma-vādaḥ in a different way. The devotees understand that actually Krishna was the son of Mother Yashoda. Although Krishna first appeared as the son of Devaki, he immediately transferred himself to the lap of Mother Yashoda, and his childhood pastimes were blissfully enjoyed by Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. This fact was admitted by Vasudeva himself when he met Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda at Kurukshetra. He admitted that Krishna and Balaram were actually the sons of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Vasudeva and Devaki were only their official father and mother. Their actual father and mother were Nanda and Yashoda. Therefore, Śukadeva Gosvāmī describes Lord Krishna as devakī-janma-vādaḥ. Śukadeva Gosvāmī then glorifies the Lord as one who is honored by the Yaduvada Parishat, the assembly house of the Yadu dynasty, and as the killer of different kinds of demons. All right, give me a second here. This is giving me a problem. Okay. Killer of different kinds of demons. Oh boy. Simply by his willing, no. Okay, yeah, I had to change the type size. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could have killed all the demons by employing his different material energies, but he wanted to kill them personally to give them salvation. There was no need of Krishna's coming in this material world to kill the demons. Simply by his willing, many hundreds and thousands of demons could have been killed without his personal endeavor. But actually he descended for his pure devotees, to play as a child with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and to give pleasure to the inhabitants of Dwarka. By killing the demons and giving protection to the devotees, Lord Krishna established the real religious principle, which is simply love of God. By following the factual religious principle of love of God, even the living entities known as Sthira-chara were also delivered of all material contamination and transferred to the spiritual kingdom. Sthira means the trees and plants which cannot move, and chara means the moving animals, especially the cows. When Krishna was present, he delivered all the trees, monkeys, and other plants and animals who happened to see him and serve him, both in Vrindavan and in Dwarka. Lord Krishna is especially glorified for giving pleasure to the gopis and the queens of Dwarka. Śukadeva Gosvāmī glorifies Lord Krishna for his enchanting smile, by which he enchanted not only the gopis of Vrindavan, but also the queens of Dwarka. The exact words used in this connection are Vārdayan Kamadevam. In Vrindavan as the boyfriend of many gopis, and in Dwarka as the husband of many queens, Krishna increased their lusty desires to enjoy with him. For God realization or self-realization, one generally has to undergo severe austerities and penances for many, many thousands of years, and then it may be possible to realize God. But the gopis and the queens of Dwarka, simply by enhancing their lusty desires to enjoy Krishna as their boyfriend or husband, receive the highest type of salvation. Close quote. In this way, Srila Prabhupada wonderfully illuminates the meaning of this verse by Śukadeva Gosvāmī, which summarizes Lord Krishna's pastimes. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So last night I gave a little class on the appearance of Krishna based on Bhagavad Gita, those well-known verses at the beginning of near the beginning of the 4th chapter, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glana Bhavati Bharata, and Paratanaya Sadhanam Vinasaya Duskritam, which nicely summarizes one of the main aspects of why Krishna appears, in order to reestablish Dharma, in order to protect his devotees, and to annihilate the miscreants. And we see those pastimes enacted throughout the Krishna book, whether he's in Vrindavan and killing Bakasura, Agasura, and the other asuras, or he's in Mathura killing Jarasandha's vast armies many, many times, or he's in Dwarka and he comes and he beheads Shalva, that big battle in his airplane. So many different ways in which he's eliminating the miscreant atheists and protecting his devotees, and also how he's enlivening everyone with his pastimes. So there is a verse that I also quoted at near the end of the 33rd chapter of the 10th canto, which are the last chapter of the Rasa dance, that describes another reason that he gives. And this is spoken by Śukadeva. He says, Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusam dehamastitaha bhatate tadrushi krida yashudva tatparo bhavet. Which means, out of his mercy, anugrahaya, to the bhaktas, to the devotees especially, he appears in his original human-like form, manusam dehamastitaha. And what does he do? Bhajate tadrushi krida. He performs all kinds of varied and all attractive pastimes, so that they will be recorded and give the devotees subject matter for hearing and chanting. And those who want to become devotees, they will be absorbed in that sound vibration and become attracted to Krishna. I was watching one of the YouTube presentations. Yadabar puts them on put them all on YouTube. Following Srila Prabhupada, I highly recommend it. If you just key that in, you'll see there's more than 12, 13 of those. And they go through all the video that was available. He organized it chronologically. And then he this is 30 years ago. And he went and found the devotees, as many as he could, who were in the video, and he got them to narrate and tell what was going on. It's very fascinating. So just yesterday, I was listening to one, and Śukadeva was speaking. You know, he was one of Prabhupada's intimate servants for a few years. And he was there, and he was describing how Prabhupada was listening to his own Krishna book being read to him. He liked to do that. And then he spoke to Śukadeva, and he said, if you just read one chapter, you become Krishna of this book, this Krishna book. You become a great devotee. You become a pure devotee. You know? And then he stopped and he said, even if you just read one page, you can. And he came all down. You know, one page, one line, one word. You can become a pure devotee. This is how much Prabhupada loved the Krishna book. The Krishna book is, after all, the 10th canto, which is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when you start the Krishna book, I think it's in the introduction, Prabhupada, he quotes a verse. It may be the only actual shloka that he quotes in the whole book. It's very rare that he includes the Sanskrit, because it's a summary study, it's not as formal. But this one he quotes, and this is spoken by Parikshit, King Parikshit to Śukadeva, where it's saying, just see the situation. He's heard the first 9 cantos, sitting, not eating, not drinking, not sleeping, just listening. And now finally it comes to the 10th canto, so this is what he's really waiting for. So he gives this verse, Nivritta Tarshai Rupagiyamaran Babavshadat Shrotamano Viraman. Kautama Shloka Gunanavarat Puman Varajet Vina Pashugnat. Prabhupada explains this verse, very important verse. So Nivritta Tarshai Rupagiyamaran means he's defining Uttama Shloka Gunanavara, the descriptions of Krishna. And this Uttama Shloka name is very nice. It means that he was described in the best of shlokas, the most beautiful poetry. So for those who are free of tarsha, or thirst for material things, nivritta tarsha means renounced pure devotees, when they sing, when they recite these descriptions of this lila in the 10th canto, which he's about to hear, this acts, can we see if we can ask him to not speak? He can mention that they think that this, it's just like, they might as well be speaking next to me. And Bhavaushadhi, it serves as a medicine to cure the disease of birth and death. And it's Shrota Mano Abhiramat, very pleasing to the ear and the mind and the heart. You see, this is what Prabhupada works so hard to give us, all of these books, these vibrations. Shrota Mano Abhiramat. Kautama Shloka Gunanavada Pumamurajeta, who would possibly give up hearing these? Uttama Shloka Gunanavada, except someone who is a Pashugnat. Pashugnat means two things. It means the meat eaters, as one, killing animals, or committing spiritual suicide by emphasizing the Māyāvādī or the impersonal aspect of the Supreme. That's also spiritual suicide. So that's practically the first verse of the 10th canto, and this is practically the last verse of the 10th canto. And in between, there's all these varieties of descriptions and plenty of philosophy. I remember working with Gopi Puranadana on the 87th chapter of the 10th canto. So those who read through the Krishna book, that chapter is like 10 times longer than any other chapter. It's the personified Vedas prayers. I remember when we came to that, last time we went through the Bhagavatam, I think it was the only time we actually went through so far. It takes a while. And forget about chanting the verses. We hardly have room to write them on the board. It's just, it goes like this. One is Twadandupatam Kulayim in the map Surit Priyavan Chatatitaton Maketihi Te Priya. That's the size of each line. So it's very deep philosophy. And our commentators, like Vishwanath Chakravarti and others, they've written extensive commentary on these verses, so much so that they wrote a Mangalacharan just for the commentary on those verses, meaning that it itself is a major work of literature. So Krishna has provided all this. In that last verse, for us, for hearing, for subject matter for hearing and studying, to absorb ourselves in Krishna Leela and to become attracted to him. And this appearance day is itself a wonderful event that can help us to be Krishna conscious all over the world. Not all over the world, because in India it'll be tomorrow. But about this time, anyone who's a Krishna Bhakta or has regard for Krishna will be celebrating this holiday because it's so auspicious. This is, when you read the Krishna book, it begins with this kind of sobering situation where Mother Bhumi is so disturbed by all of the demons who have taken birth that she goes to the demigods to pray. She goes and they all go to Brahma. They all take a trip to Brahma to pray to please do something, and then they trek to the shore of the ocean of milk, and Brahma sits in trance, right? And he's getting a message transmission from Krishna through through Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And then it says, "Don't worry, I'm coming." Now all you demigods take birth in the outer dynasty, and also in Vrindavan, Mathura, and everything, and make way, and I will appear soon. So you can imagine how enlivening that is. Oh, Krishna's actually responding to our need. Now he's coming, and you have this whole situation before he arrives, where Kamsa gets a warning from this unembodied voice. And you know the whole story, that he's ready to kill Devaki, and Vasudeva saves the day. I remember when I first read Krishna book, and I read this soliloquy, you call it, this speech by Vasudeva on the difference between the body and the soul and reincarnation and all these different things. Oh, this is worth memorizing, studying. There's so much philosophy right there. But he couldn't move Kamsa, He explained to him that this will be very bad karma. He didn't care, he wanted to kill her because of her 8th son. Then he explained it'll look very bad for your reputation. That kind of brought him up short, but that wasn't enough either. But when he promised to give the children, then he accepted that. He said, "Well, okay, everyone, considering everything, it's not good to kill my sister on wedding day, but we'll see what happens." So anyway, the scene goes on. He actually kills the first 6. children, and you can imagine how wrenching that was for Devaki. You know, later on, much later on, Krishna brought them back. Remember that? When in Dwarka Leela? For a little while, you know, so she was pacified. But there's all of these amazing things, and it's you just have one villain, you have many villains there, and Krishna kills them all. But the people there don't know that. You know, Mathura Vasis, here comes Jarasan with his huge army, Rakshawani, so many elephants and infantry, you know, the surrounding Mathura, and the devotees, and what's going to happen? And Krishna comes out with a little squad of soldiers and Balaram. So what's going to happen? They're going to be overwhelmed, you know. But then at that point, he starts his Kshatriya Leela. If you study, I remember when reading the Krishna book, Krishna kills all these demons, right? But he never uses a weapon because he's in the mode of Vaishya. So he chokes Bakasura and Keshi by his hands, and he enters into the body of Aghasura and chokes him. He twirls around, following Balaram. He twirls around the donkey demons, and that kills him. And even the wrestlers, he's already in Mathura, but he's still a coward boy, right? So he just beats him up, and again twirling around, So it's always, he pulls out the tusk of the elephant that he kills. How did he kill the elephant? By breaking his tusk and beating him with his own tusk. So, but then when he's in Mathura and Jarasan comes up, then he calls down the chariot from sky. Remember that? With his insignia, there's Hanuman on there and his Garuda on his chariot, and Hanuman for Balaram. And then they start, and it still looks like, oh my God, they just listen. But then he starts shooting the arrows, and it's just like it's fire, and everybody's dying, it's a ghastly scene, rivers of blood. But the pious are enlivened, like that. And it goes like that. 17 times he does that, So he's fulfilling that vinashaya chadushkatam. He's clearing the earth of all of these demons. That was what Bhumi was complaining about, right? So he's doing that, but in the meanwhile, he's engaging in all of these loving relationships. Like when he walks into Mathura, remember there's all of these different relationships. Was it the first one? I think the first one was the washerman, right? He got his comeuppance. Krishna just asked him for the clothes. He said, "These are the king's clothes. They look like two young boys. If you do that again, you'll be arrested. Be careful. So, not with a weapon, just with his hand. He cuts off his head, and then they decorate themselves. So now he's not dressed as a coward boy. He's dressed in the fancy clothes for the city. So all of these pastimes are very entrancing and enlivening, and these are like the nourishment for the devotees. Because the Krishna is present. I mean, how many times he's present in his name, he's present in his deity, and he's present in his pastimes and his words in the Bhagavad Gita. So that's inconceivable. That is not. We cannot conceive of that with our minds. That Krishna, the one that the name is the same, is equal to Krishna, is completely inconceivable. But in chanting, the more that we can become absorbed and chant with intention and with devotion and faith, the more we'll feel Krishna's presence there. There's this one verse by Sanatana Gosvāmī that's quoted in the purport in the Antya-lila, and it's right near the beginning of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And he's describing the holy name. And it's really wonderful. Jayati, that's the same meter. Jayati, Jayati. It's another Jayati, Jayati verse. Jayati, Jayati, namananda rupam rare. Vidamita nija dharma dhyana pujadi yatnam. Katamapi sakadatam muktidam praninam yat padamam amritamekam jivanam bhushanam me. This is he's revealing his own experience with the holy name. All glories to the holy name of Krishna, the enemy of the Mura demon, Murari. Namananda Rupam, which itself is the form of bliss. Namananda Rupam. Just by chanting it, and if you're really pure, you'll just feel the highest bliss just by chanting Krishna's name. This is how merciful Lord Chaitanya is. He's made it available to everybody. We have the same name, but we have to work on getting pure so that we will taste it more and more sweet. Vidamita nijadharma means that it encourages you to give up Nija dharma, your mundane duties within varnashram, and this and that. Dhyana, meditation on the Supreme, the great efforts for all these activities. You just become absorbed in the holy name. Puja of the demigods. And katamapi sakadatam, if someone chants it even once, fortunate, katamapi sakadatam muktidam praninam yad, it will liberate that living entity. Padamamamritam ekam, it is my soul and supreme nectar. Padamamamritam ekam, jivanam, my very life. Bhushanam, my only ornament. This is how he's describing the holy name. So it's worth reading these verses and trying to just absorb. These are our great acharyas. We're in the line, the Goswamis. And, you know, there's many verses by Rupa Goswami, and then there's a Padyavali that aren't all by him, there's a few by him, that describing the glories of the holy name. In that Padyavali is the Shikshastika, not as an Ashtaka, scattered throughout. And then they were assembled, I believe, by Krishna's Kaviraj in the CC as the Ashtaka. So we've been given all these things. So days like today are a great opportunity for remembering Krishna, reading Krishna book, chanting extra rounds. There's no eating, you know, the whole day. It's quite an absorption. And helping with the, you know, preparation for tonight, and being just being active in celebrating Krishna's appearance. And it's part of his mercy. Just appearing as the deity is so merciful, you know, through the agency of the spiritual master. But at the same time, remembering the different pastimes, the different occasions, like the Govardhan Puja, which is such a wonderful festival here all these years, you know. And I did my little bit to try to glorify it in a poem, so it wouldn't be complete. So I just want to, you know, why did I start writing these English poems? Because here I am, you know, I have a facility, obviously, for memorizing some of these shlokas, and they're so absorbing. It's so absorbing. This one, you know, Jayati Janinibaso, if you study the meaning of the words, this is why I encourage devotees. The Guru Vashtaka that we chant every morning. If you are able to come and you're able to sing and you understand the meaning, then it's just a total absorption. And it should evoke, as I wrote the meaning of the Vyasa Puja this year, and maybe I'll read that tomorrow. But I included this poem I wrote, the Prabhupada Kripashtaka, based on the Guru Vashtaka. And the last line goes, "O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now, and to your soothing lotus feet I bow." I go through, you know, applying Prabhupada's Leela to the Guru Vashtaka. In other words, showing how he fulfilled every one of those verses. But I was realizing, yeah, I know all these shlokas, but it's like there's a few people who really can understand them, you know, in relation. So let me try to put a few into English, you know. So here's a little attempt. After all, this is a day for remembering Krishna's Leela. So I'll give you a few Leela in summary form. And you're invited to memorize them. And you might chant a little bit of Hare Krishna, then you chant a sloka of Leela, then you chant more Hare Krishna. Say absorb. So this is one I didn't do last night, I forgot. But it's very pertinent, especially to this yatra. When Krishna stopped King Indra's sacrifice, that monarch of the heavens threw a fit. Those cowards took that foolish boy's advice. Such insolence I never shall permit. So Indra sent the clouds of devastation to pour down catastrophic hail and rain with lightning, thunder, winds without cessation. The cowards called to Krishna in their pain to show his coward friends his boundless love and crush King Indra's pride for his own good. Shri Krishna lifted Govardhan above and saved his friends while neath the hill they stood. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. And then it's talking about his smile. So there's this famous verse in the Krishna Karnamrita. It's quoted at least twice in the CC. Madodam madodam vapadasya vibho, madodam madodam vadanam madodam, madogan limadu smitame tadaho, madodam 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 madodam. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. So we can chant that verse and look at Giridhari, or you chant that verse and remember Lord Giridhari, and in this way you can. So I took that mood and I applied it to another poem where Krishna is sitting in the forest. You've all seen this painting. It's very, beautiful, obviously. And he's got a little dove on his hand here, and there's a deer, and there's a cow, and there's another animal, which I always forget until I chant. And it's a very blissful scene. So, same thing. The sweetness of Sri Krishna's form beguiles. Still sweeter is his face, like autumn moon. But sweeter than the sweetest is his smile, whose luscious beauty makes the gopis swoon. Govinda's beauty captivates the doves, the swans, the deer, the cows, and every tree. Indeed, in Braja, every creature loves Sri Krishna and is drowned in ecstasy. That all-enchanting land is paradise, our home, where we may dwell eternally. Most welcome there are those who pay the price to learn to love Sri Krishna perfectly. So that's actually our ultimate destination we can aspire for and do what's needed to reach there. And at this time, of course, we're coming up on Kartik, and we'll be meditating on the little baby Leela, Krishna getting bound by Mother Yashoda, Damodar. So here's a little precursor for that. At last Yashoda caught her naughty child, who'd smashed a pot of yogurt in a peak. Though seemingly annoyed, she felt beguiled by little Krishna's loving charm unique. "Oh, imp, I've caught you now, but do not fear. You see, I've thrown the rope upon the floor. I'm sorry, but do not fear. You see, I've thrown the stick upon the floor. But I must bind you with these ropes, my dear, lest you increase your mischief more and more." And so Yashoda bound her little son, who hid his glory to evoke her love. The blessings she enjoyed are never won by gods and goddesses who dwell above. So right behind you, you have the illustration of that. But it's missing one thing. This was pointed out to me by Pradyumna Prabhu, not the scholar Pradyumna, but the Pradyumna who was here in the 80s, and he was a major member here, one of the managers. And he would come back for visits. And last time he visited, I don't think he'd be back for a while. He went to centers in Scotland. And he said that picture, that little frieze, whatever you call it, little sculpture of Krishna getting bound, is missing the grinding motor. What is she binding him to? Check it out. Anyway, it's interesting. The mood is there, though. And then we have, this was the first one I wrote. This is one of my favorite verses and favorite paintings, Muralidhar, how Muralidhar's painting. He painted this in Brooklyn when I was there. And when it was done, they hung it outside the temple room. And I liked that painting so much, I would chant my japa in front of the painting. I would kind of dance a little bit, jumping up and down, chanting. It was such a beautiful painting. And it's at the beginning of the Venu Gita. The Venu Gita chapter 21 of the 10th canto is all attractive. You may or may not know that Shivaram Swami wrote a whole book based on that. And the commentaries that the acharyas have given on that particular chapter, there's so many details. And it's available in the database for free. You can read it. So anyway, Venu Gita. So as an introductory verse, before they start singing, this is describing Krishna entering just leaving the village with his friends, playing the flute. There's Balaram and all his friends, and the calves and cows, and one calf is nuzzling up to, and all the gopis are there watching him leave. It happens every day. With lovely peacock plume upon his head, and fragrant flower placed upon each ear, he enters Braja's woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows, and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day, with cowherd friends who sing his glories sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way with fine impressions of his lotus feet. So if you read that, Sanskrit and or English, and look at the painting, and then read the pastime, it'll be very hard not to become a little bit more Krishna conscious. It's very, very attractive. And then we have the complaints. This is a whole pastime where the Yashoda's friends come and complain about Krishna, who's been stealing butter from their storerooms. This is not good. Actually, it's just an excuse. They want to see Krishna, so they come. But it's a wonderful little section in the 10th canto. Yashoda's friends approached her and complained about her naughty child, the butter thief. "Oh friend, this child of yours must be restrained. He simply torments us with no relief. We trust that you will thoroughly chastise this naughty boy who steals and eats our food." But then he looked at them with love-filled eyes, awakening their sweet maternal mood. And so Yashoda and her friends were drowned in waves and whirlpools of maternal love. In all three worlds, no greater love is found. Its home is in Goloka, far above. So there's a lot of others I could share with you. But let's see, what time is it? It's 8:16 now. Do we have any questions or discussion on these verses or anything? Everyone is stunned in ecstasy, or either that or has been put to sleep. And one or the other.
How do you learn to love Krishna?
How do you learn to love Krishna? Well, there's a nice book called The Nectar of Devotion that we can read. The process has been nicely outlined by Rupa Goswami, in detail actually, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But he gives these two verses that describe the ladder from faith to love, from Shraddha to Prema. So I can just review that. This is a nice summary, we should all know this. So it's Ādau Shraddha, Tatak Sadhu Sangha, Tabhajana Kriya, Tato Anartha Nivritti Sat, Tato Nishta, Ruchis Tata, Ata Saktis, Tata Bhava, Tata Prema Abhyudanchati, Sadhakana Mayam Prema, Prado Bhave Krama. Krama means step by step. So it all begins with faith, Ādau Shraddha. Now this is the different kinds of faith. And Prabhupada described this faith as some respect, some preliminary interest. Enough respect and preliminary interest to bring you into the association of devotees. Now in the modern age, that association can be through some medium. And the most important medium is the books. There's no question of that. And that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati so much emphasized it, and he passed that on to Prabhupada, and he made that his main focus for his own service, writing the books, and creating devotees and temples to make book distributors, devotees who would then spread the message. So, Ādau Shraddha, there must be some preliminary interest or preliminary faith, respect. So you'll come into association physically, or you'll hit the right buttons so that you'll be on the internet. But somehow or other, you're hearing from and associating with devotees. And from that association has to spring up a desire for bhajan. Ādau Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, association. Then you want to taste some of what they're tasting. The whole idea is if the devotees are really sincere, even in the very, very preliminary stage, they'll be empowered, they'll be effulgent, they'll be emanating a certain joy and peace that people get attracted to. If they're in the right frame of mind, like the fortunate ones, they'll be attracted. So that's the first side. First, to develop some faith through some means or other, and come into the association of devotees and hear and associate sadhu sangha, and then to get inspired to perform bhajan. Prabhu, would you like to try to chant on the beads? Yeah, that would be interesting. So here you show them how to chant, the chanting on the beads. And of course anyone could chant in kirtan, so that's also bhajan. So from that bhajan, one needs to develop the desire to be initiated. That's an important step, because that will keep you on the path. Otherwise, it's not confirmed. And initiate is a very important step. So, from that initiation, the bhajan continues. This is sadhana bhakti. It's a practice. Sadhana means practice, and it has a sadhya. The sadhya ultimately is prema, but this is the preliminary stages. So you're practicing bhajan, and while you're doing that, you're getting rid of your anarthas. The anarthas are the lust, anger, greed, illusion, all of the things in the heart that we carry from birth to birth. This is what needs to be purified in the Chaita, with the Chaito Darpana Marjanam, right? And these unwanted desires and phobias and a million different things the mind can have that just keep us bound to this material world. But Bhakti Yoga practice, especially in the line of Lord Chaitanya, is the most efficient means effective means of clearing the heart, purifying the heart. So as you do that, you're experiencing more peace and happiness and like that. And then you come to the state of real faith, which is called nishtha. And that nishtha is defined by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami. Shraddha shabde vishwas korhe sudridhan nischoy, Krishna bhakti korle sarva karma krita hoy. That real shraddha, which here is called nishtha, but is firm faith, is the definition. The word shabde is a Bengali idiom that means is defined as vishwas korhe, a very sudridhan nischoy, a very firm conviction, unbreakable conviction that what? That just by practicing the principles and of bhakti yoga, all my aspirations will be achieved. My life will be complete. Not to think, oh, I'll do a little bhakti and I have to do this and that and this and that, you know. So, and if you have a job, then you have to integrate into bhakti. You see that, oh, I'm earning this money for Krishna, you know, like that. So, that's nishtha. And as you continue practicing the principles as given in Nectar Devotion, you know, the chanting, what to do, what not to do, you know, anukulyasya sankalpa, partikulyasya, thank you. To accept those things favorable and reject those things unfavorable. And the four other principles of surrender we can study. So you're going on, and meanwhile, your ruchi, your taste for everything related to Krishna, beginning with the holy name, is increasing. It's not that you have to wait till Nishta to get any ruchi. You can get ruchi at the beginning, but it increases more and more and more, so that you become more and more attracted for kirtan, more and more attracted for service and for association, and simultaneously less and less attracted. Your vairagya, your distaste for material things, is growing and growing until you can't even imagine how you were ever attracted to things like that. So then at that stage, the ruchi is the first hints of the attraction for Krishna. Because everything related to Krishna becomes attractive, and then he's present in everything. So ruchi then matures into asakta, actual attraction for Krishna personally, and that matures, it thickens, it's like stirring a sugar cane, it's getting thicker and thicker. And into bhava, or ecstasy, which is just this side of prema, you know, an ecstatic mood. And it's rare, you know, but Srila Prabhupada said Yamuna attained bhava bhakti, you know. So, and at that point, you know, your whole life is filled with different varieties of ecstatic glorification and service of Krishna. And that just becomes more and more thick until you actually have prema. So that's the outline of how to get it. And we're all somewhere on that path, somewhere on that ladder from faith to love. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here listening to this boring class, you know, and it takes some faith. So, and it takes determination. The whole thing depends on determination to control the mind, give up the unwanted things, and accept things that are difficult. And that's why we've been I think, studying some of the purports in the regular Bhagavatam class, how difficulties in the path of bhakti are actually welcome for the sincere devotee, because they give a chance to strengthen your surrender muscles. You know, you're actually able to, you know, and once you do that, then you're able to give up so many other things that are just like haunting you. You know, you become more determined, and you get the mercy. Krishna gives you mercy when he sees you really sacrificing and you're making a real effort. That's the whole idea. Krishna is completely reciprocal to what we do. If you're dabbling, then you'll feel a little something about Krishna, but you won't be able to come steady. But if you're serious, because of your association with serious devotees, it's so important. And of course, with Prabhupada, the more we read Prabhupada's books, I highly encourage you to get over that hump of being able to understand his accent. Some devotees I can't understand. But to listen to Prabhupada's lectures is a special potency, because it's his, you know, pure devotee speaking. And kirtans, of course, also. So all of that, the facility has been given by the mercy of Prabhupada, following, you know, his Gurudev's instructions and Lord Chaitanya's predictions, and his followers have, you know, to grow this movement practically anywhere you go, especially with the internet, you can, you know, plug in and you can be Krishna conscious. So that we don't have any excuse not to be Krishna conscious. I mean, we can take full advantage. All right, I think we'll get ready for the greeting in 5 minutes. Thank you very much for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Now, who's speaking tonight, do you know? Balaram. Haribol, thank you.